Kat Parsons, you are the brand new CEO of the Diversity Umbrella.
I am, yes.
And under the Diversity Umbrella, there are 4 awards.
There are.
There's the Rainbow Honours, the Employee Network Awards, the British Diversity Awards, and the ones we call the big one, the European Diversity Awards. What does it feel like? What does it mean to you to be a part of something so huge?
It's absolutely massive. So at this point, I am about 2 months into my new role. But I have been in the scene for a number of years now. So I've won a couple of awards, a British Diversity Award, a European Diversity Award, and I've been part of the employee networks as well in terms of the organisations I've worked for. So I've sort of been around and I've been inspired, and you go to these events and they are like absolutely phenomenal. To sort of host a table from the organisation that you're representing, to bring new faces in, like it really does sort of fuel those people in the room. And sort of that's sort of built over time, and because of winning those awards, that sort of recognition, my career like absolutely just spiked. All of a sudden people sort of knew who I was and were sort of taking note, and I decided to have a bit of a career flex, see what was out there. I've been in head of diversity roles for a number of years now, and the opportunity came to take over as CEO of Diversity Umbrella, and I absolutely bit someone's hand off to take it.
Well, you're taking over, but it must be massively daunting because the founder of the Diversity Umbrella and all of these incredible awards, Linda Riley, who we know is a diversity powerhouse.
Yeah.
She has literally dedicated her life to inclusion and belonging. And now that she has created this incredible awards and this platform, what does it feel like to, step into those giant shoes? Because she really does have a huge legacy. It's massive shoes to fill.
I mean, they are absolutely ginormous shoes. And I don't think about it too much in terms of stepping into her shoes. She's very much firmly in her shoes moving forward. There's no moving her out of those shoes. What she's created, so the European Diversity Awards is 16 this year. This has been going, not when sort of diversity inclusion suddenly became a bit sort of fashionable and people, organisations started having heads of D&I, blank piece of paper to sort of crack on. This has been going when it wasn't, mainstream to have, a diversity person in your organisation focusing on this role. So, what she's created and the momentum, and it's just built over time. So it started with the European Diversity Awards, which is now, you're talking 1,300 people in a room in November. It's massive.
Then people fly in from literally all over Europe to attend. And I think sometimes people come from even further just because their organisations are that big.
Yeah, 100%. And then there was sort of, Linda was saying there's this sort of gap in terms of focusing on British diversity and what we're doing in this country. So the British Diversity Awards was 5 this year. We've just had the Rainbow Honours as well, which this was the 5th one, so my first one as CEO. And the Employee Network Awards are our baby of the awards. We are 3 this year. But again, it was that sort of, everything sort of flexed over time. So the Employee Network Awards, although they're new, are absolutely massive because so many organisations have employee resource groups or business resource groups or just sort of networks or inclusion councils, shadow boards, all these sort of new gatherings of people. And there wasn't sort of a space really dedicated to them for the work they do, side of desk, extra hours. Like, it's a really tough role.
Yeah, especially because it's not in their job description. It's not in their contract. They're not getting paid for it. They're doing it out of sheer commitment to inclusion. And I think that's something that really echoes when you're at any of the awards. You feel the people in the room. They really do care.
Yeah.
And, even for me, I've been at our Rainbow Honours and the BDAs since the beginning, and the ENAs now since they started. And for someone who has my level of intersectionality, my friends will laugh and say, Char, you are a walking D&I tick box. You're a lesbian, you're a woman, you're a person of colour, you're neurodivergent, anything else.
Tick, tick. Yeah.
I never imagined that I'd be backstage interviewing winners, and it's only because someone like Linda Riley, in fact, not someone like Linda Riley, the Linda Riley, saw me, gave me an opportunity where others would have, laughed or presumed that I wasn't capable or, thought that I was not the right fit for that kind of job. And it really does provide people who are often othered the safety to actually thrive and be themselves. And, I think that was one of the reasons why we've connected and become such, I might use the term loosely, friends. Friends. Because we both know what it's like to feel othered, to not be psychologically safe, to not be seen, and then to actually be recognised and pulled and helped up by this incredible organisation, which you are now at the helm of.
I know. And actually, I mean, that's the first time we met. So I had won a Diva Award for Head of Diversity of the Year. And I had not... Everyone says this. I'd not prepped. I remember being in the car with my wife on the way there, and she said, this was my first, I'd never been nominated for anything before. I was very much like, head down, get the work done, don't look up, keep going. And she said, do you not think you should write a speech? And I said, no. And then she said, some bullet points? And I said, no, there's no way I'm ever going to win this. Like, the people in the category for Head of D&I were massive. They've been doing it for ages. I'd been doing it for probably about 12 months. And I was pushed into the role. I would say pushed. It wasn't part of my career path at all. I'd been in construction and environment and health and safety and all these sorts of roles. But I think the thing that was common was I know how to get stuff done. I know how to connect with people very quickly to be able to move things at pace. So when this role of Head of D&I came up, I was a bit like, oh, this is a bit soft and fluffy. I'm not sure this is for me. And then that's my biggest regret ever. It's the hardest job there is, I think. But when I won that award and I had no idea what to say on stage at all. I just remember being like, oh, like all these faces, all these people. And I came backstage to you and you said, who are you? What have you won? Congratulations. Like, you were absolutely brilliant. And then I said, it's Kat. And you said, not Catherine. And I said, no, it's Kat. And then I said, only my mum calls me Catherine. And then the interview starts, Catherine, congratulations on your award. And then I knew we'd be friends.
Yeah, I mean, I have always thought myself as a very maternal, motherly role. So it just makes complete sense. And it is, massive, the impact that winning an award has. And I guess that's the reason why we've created this platform, because it's not just about the accolades and the recognition. It's about the story behind the person. It's about the difference that they make and will continue to make. It's such an inspiring way for us to really connect with those award winners and really see a little bit more about them, because I have, it's probably the biggest privilege of my career that I get to stand backstage, hold that space with, as much warmth and kindness and openness and gentleness, because the winners come backstage, as you know,
you're sideswiped. You're like, what?
Your mouth's dry. You need a glass of water. People need a moment. Yeah. I often, I spend my time holding hands, doing deep breaths with people before they're ready for their interview. And I'm so excited that we have brought this podcast to life, because I think being able to share those stories with a wider audience has so much potential for inspiration. And I'm so excited to find out what people do having heard those stories.
Yeah. And I think that was, Linda would always ask me, like, after I'd won an award, like, what does this mean to you, and do you think it's benefited your career? So it was never, just about the recognition or holding the award or, where it sits in your office. It was always about, like, personally, what was it doing for you? Was it moving you forward? Was it a positive experience? And so my career just absolutely flew from that first moment of getting the first award. And then it just snowballed, and I was on lists and I was in rooms, and I was really being recognised. And I jumped to a couple of organisations, some massive brands, because of that recognition. But when Linda was sort of talking about, what this could look like moving forward with Diversity Umbrella, obviously the awards are like the thing. They are prestige. They are massive. We get so many thousands of nominations. It's absolutely incredible. And I think for me, because I'm diversity inclusion, because this has been my job, it's sharing best practice. My sort of take on it, taking this role, is how do we open the filing cabinet and say, right, this is what this person has done, and this is why they were stood on stage, and really sort of extend that moment. So you have the moment on stage where you are sideswiped and you're in shock. We get backstage, we speak to you, we have to take a moment, you're trying to garble something together, but you never get like what they actually did. Like, we don't give them enough sort of space to process and be able to communicate.
Yeah, and I think it's difficult, isn't it? Because when you're in that environment on the spot, your energy is up there. You're so excited. You've just won. You want to get back to the table and see your colleagues and your partner and your friends, and being able to really sit down with people and capture their story and give them an opportunity to really talk about who they are, where they've been, how they got to that moment of receiving that recognition. I think that's the reason why lots of people do this work, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's we used to say back in the industry that I used to work in sales, I'm sorry about that, but we used to say facts tell and stories sell. Yeah. And I think if we want to, quotation, sell people on inclusion, on belonging, on why that's important, then these are the stories that need to be told. Because right now, the world is a difficult place to exist in for many people, not just marginalised people. And the more we can engage people in these conversations, we can open minds, we can soften hearts, and we can really allow people an opportunity to thrive being exactly who they are. Yeah. And I think we're on to something here.
I think so. And so not only is it this podcast series, so we're going to be interviewing award winners, networks, sponsors as well. Yeah, why they're putting their money and their brand behind the awards as well. We're doing it as a blog as well, so we can have a more regular sort of stream of content. So we've had the Rainbow Honours recently, so we'll be going through and giving that space for each of those award winners to say, what was it? What is your message to others? What did you find difficult? Give us the tips, the things that you did that led to this award. But equally, it's about connection and networking as well, and that's of a big piece. You go to the awards, so the British Diversity Awards, I think we had about 1,100 people in the room in March. Absolutely massive. And my tactic before this role was always to take a picture of the seating plan, and then I'd network my way around that room. Like, I knew every table that every person was on, because I had like a hit list of like, I've spoken to you before, I've connected with you on LinkedIn. Like, I'd work that room as much as I possibly could. But it's not really the environment for that. It's an environment to sort of, you're with your colleagues. It is a busy place. You're in your tux. You're looking great. It's not necessarily a place to be sort of having those deep conversations about like, how are you doing this? How are you doing this? So from that grew the Global Inclusivity membership as well. So this is a way that organisations can get involved and they can connect. So we have a lunch on a quarterly basis. And we bring no more than 10 to 12 leaders together. And it's leaders across, not just D&I, because we end up being in D&I spaces talking to D&I people, and you're talking to everyone who's already on the bus.
Yeah, you don't want to preach to the choir, do you?
So how do you broaden that conversation? So diversity inclusion goes across talent, recruitment, learning and development, well-being, health and safety, sustainability. Like, all these different spaces all have D&I as a lens of it. So we bring together leaders across those spaces, and I always describe it as a bit like Christmas. Like, it's not like you're sat around a table of 12 people and you're chatting to the person on your left and the person on your right, and that's it, and you kind of miss out the other side of the table. It ends up being one conversation round the table, and you're all sort of chipping in, and the conversation just, you start with a bit of a conversation starter, and then I can never get people to be quiet. Like, it's like...
And that's what we want, isn't it?
That's it, yeah. And it's like sharing, not only like, we talked about resilience at our last one. This is a really difficult role. This will come up across the podcast a lot. Resilience, and it's a challenging space because of budgets and small teams and external pressures. So it's a space where you can sort of say, this is hard. Like, it feels a little bit like counselling. This is hard. Are you finding it hard? Okay, good. Then there's reassurance in that. But equally, that it then moves into a space of like, well, how have you done that? And what was it that kind of made others have a penny drop moment? And what are the roadblocks?
It's that best practice, isn't it?
100%.
It's that, how can we help each other? What did you do? What worked? What's not working? What can we try? Is there a way we can collaborate? Because ultimately, we have to create those moments of synergy. We are all trying to get to the exact same moment. We're trying to become obsolete. Yeah. And if we don't work together, we're never going to get there. I think what I love about the diversity umbrella is that we think about inclusion every step of the way, whether that's an award, whether it's backstage when you're interviewing me and I'm thinking, I wonder what needs this person have. Would they like a hug, a handshake, a high five, or just a wink? You know, we think about it by having the quiet rooms. We think about it in what happens throughout the year, in the training that we're giving, in the conferences that we're holding, in the education that we're trying to provide. And that really is what it looks like to embody diversity, to embody inclusion, to embody belonging. And if we can each as individuals embody that essence of belonging, then that can ricochet out into our organisations, into our teams, into our ERGs, and hopefully, forgive me for saying, into the world.
The world, yeah.
The world.
Yeah. I think it's almost infectious, isn't it? I think, you like the lunch that we had recently as part of the membership, like everyone was absolutely buzzing. They left that room and I was getting emails before I'd even got in the taxi to say, like, that was the best conversation I've had in a long time. Because, you know, as professionals, you get invited to lunch, brunch, conference, panel. Like, there's a lot that lands in your diary and there's a lot of people trying to do a lot of great work. But we are all short on time. And sometimes you sort of go to these events and you think, please let there be like a golden nugget that I can leave with, so that there's, you know, my day's been worthwhile. So we've started to create conferences. So as an organisation, you can come to us and say, I can't, like, this is stuck. I've got these 3 things and they are not moving as much as we try. Well, we've got banks and banks of award winners who are doing this stuff. They may be from different sectors, different size organisations, but they'll have similar challenges. So to be able to sort of start to pull those sorts of events together as well and be so bespoke, you're guaranteed that you're not going to send your employees to an event for the day hoping to find something. You're going to send them and they're going to come home with an absolute notebook.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that the definition of diversity of thought?
100%.
And having the benefit of that diversity of thought that we have really tried to nurture and cultivate. Kat, we talked about Linda Riley. I feel like she's the kind of person you have to say Linda Riley. Linda just doesn't quite cut it. And Linda Riley has, you know, got this legacy of being known as Diversity Riley.
She has.
What do you hope that your legacy will be across this journey of, you know, being at the helm of the diversity umbrella now? What's the next phase?
That's a really great question. And she absolutely is Diversity Riley. I think mine is around that sharing and networking piece. And I haven't thought of a quirky name for that yet, so suggestions welcome. But mine is, we're throwing the doors open. We want you to know what our award winners are doing. We want them to have an extended platform. We want the sponsors to be able to see the benefit of the categories they're sponsoring and the awards they're sponsoring as well. You know, they're the ones that are putting their money behind these events, you know, to keep them going, to keep them thriving. And equally, in terms of your brand being out there, the talent and the visibility that your brand has, you know, to sort of encourage people, you know, times are hard, budgets are hard. So, yeah, to be able to really sort of showcase not only the winners, the sponsors, but to really throw those doors open to say, this is the calibre of the people we've got, and have that slight bit of, everyone loves a bit of competition.
Oh, yeah.
I never let my kids win a game of anything. It's terrible.
You've got to teach them early.
You do, but now I'm losing and it's not our choice.
You taught them too well. You've become obsolete. Well done.
I have, but it is, I think there is a bit of that competitiveness to say, you know, how is that organisation doing that and why are we not doing it? So if we can, you know, if that's a way of a driver for other organisations to step up and do more, then we will showcase the very best of the best. But equally, we'll share warts and all. You know, this is a difficult job and there's pivots all the time and there's roadblocks constantly, but progress is still in the right direction. So how do we support that and move it forward?
Well, yeah, if you, I guess for the most part, we want to collaborate. Yeah. But if we do have to compete, we want to compete to be the most inclusive. Exactly. That's a great competition to be a part of.
It is.
Is there anything about this podcast that you think our listeners need to know before we let them go and listen to our very first episode?
I'd say be open-minded, be curious. We've got some great people that we've selected to do this, and this is the first series we're going to do. to see how this goes, to say warts and all, why people have got into these positions, how they've managed to get themselves onto stage. This is not a simple process. I mean, even to get on a shortlist is such an achievement out of the so many thousands of nominations we get. So these people have got something to say and they're making change. So I'd say grab a brew and a pen. I'm still with the pen era. I don't tend to do notes on my phone, but grab a pen, because they've got the answers. And equally, I think these people are giving their time up to come and chat to us. So if you hear something that you love, then go and find them on LinkedIn. Most of them will be hanging out there, and go and ask them, questions. They'll happily give up their time to come and brainstorm with you in terms of issues you're having, or just some reassurance, I think. So go and look them up, because they're absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, and I think we've heard the applause, and it's time to hear about the cause. I'm really looking forward to finding out what makes the people tick, how they got their success, and how they're now sharing that with the rest of the community, of industry, and with us. Yeah. We're looking forward to hearing your feedback on our Under the Global Umbrella podcast. Please remember to give us a like, leave a comment, and if you heard something that someone else needs to hear, then please feel free to share. Thank you so much for listening.
We'll be back soon with a very special guest.